In the end, only one can be the champion.
Being a champion means that you beat the best.
Being a champion is the ultimate. There's no better accomplishment.
Being a champion is everything.
Jimmie Johnson is chasing NASCAR history. He has won the championship here 2 years in a row. Carl Edwards has celebrated with winning somersaults 8 times this year and still has hopes of pulling off a miracle. Who will it be? One race remains. One champion will be crowned. We welcome you live to our NASCAR Sprint Cup Series ESPN coverage of Final Practice or Happy Hour from Homestead-Miami Speedway here in Homestead, Florida. So many great storylines to follow here for the season finale. Who will win the championship? What about the rookie points battle? Who gets in the top 35 in the owner points and those first 5 starting spots guaranteed for 2009? And how about winless drivers trying to get in victory lane before the season is out? Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry Punch along with Dale Jarrett and Andy Petrie. Glad to have you with us. And, guys, it may seem that Jimmie Johnson's mission is quite simple. Just finished 36th or better, and he's the champ. But how much more did they complicate things by qualifying back in the 30th spot for tomorrow?
Well, they certainly made things a little more difficult than what they would have anticipated and what they would have liked coming into this weekend. But they're such a good race team, obviously leading the points, that they're going to overcome this, I'm quite certain. But it is a few more anxious moments, and starting in the middle of that pack, it does put an element of danger in there that they weren't counting on.
That's the thing. They would be a lot more comfortable up front. But what they've done is they've actually placed themselves in that 30th spot starting. That puts them in a scenario that the only thing that can actually cost them this championship is an early race incident, put them out early where they finish dead last. So they've it's a little bit risky, but I think they're okay. It's just one of those things they probably didn't want to have to deal with.
Why don't we update Carl Edwards' chances by checking in down in the garage area with Shannon Spade.
Doc, Carl Edwards qualified for Sunday's race 4th, and he said he already feels like he's won one small victory this weekend, and that is the fact that he will be starting ahead of Jimmie Johnson. Now, obviously, the second victory for this 99 team would be to win the championship, but of course, Carl Edwards realizes that it's going to be very difficult to do that. But one thing is for sure, you can count on the fact that Carl Edwards will not give up until that checkered flag drops. Now, in first practice today, Carl Edwards was 7th on the speed chart. Currently, he's 21st. The team has told me they still have a lot of work to do here in Happy Hour. Mike Massaro?
And speaking of work to do, the 48 team has been thrashing ever since a disappointing 30th place qualifying effort on Friday afternoon. Jimmie Johnson was down at the time, but drew some comfort saying he knew he had a great race car. Well, he's backed those words up today in practice. During the first session this afternoon, he topped the speed chart. More reason for optimism. How good was he on long runs? The only car that was better was the 11 of Denny Hamlin. His crew chief Chad Knaus noticed that and told Jimmy to kind of mimic his line throughout the end of practice. Well, it worked. Johnson shot to the top of that speed chart as well, was second over average speed, over 15 laps or more. Feeling real good about his race car and race trim. They look like they've rebounded a little bit from Friday, Doc.
Mike, much improved over qualifying here yesterday. The disappointment of qualifying gone away, and this will wash it away in a hurry, guys, when you get out and run this well here in the final practice.
You're not going to keep a good team down very long. And see Jimmy run that high line, and watching his hand movement on the steering wheel, his car actually looks like it's driving pretty good.
Yeah, and you expected these guys to come out here and be fast today. That's how they got in this position. You can see Jimmy working the wheel. Tough racetrack to drive. Carry a lot of speed into the corners, especially when you have to run right up next to the wall like this.
Yeah, one of the things that makes it seems like to me a lot more difficult is choosing the right line. There are so many options available to you on this racetrack. You know, finding that exact right line is it seems to me like it'd be really hard to find.
Yeah, this guy here's found the right line. Denny Hamlin's the quickest guy in this practice session.
And here's Denny's history here. He never qualifies very well, and again, he will start 25th on Sunday, but when the race is done, he's usually in the top 5, finishing 3rd the last 2 years.
Well, not only do I like his chances because of his talent, but his crew chief knows how to win here. He's the one that got Bill Elliott. Mike Ford helped Bill Elliott get to victory lane here a few years ago. So Mike likes this racetrack. He knows how to set a car up for it, and with Denny's talent, pretty good combination here.
One of the guys to beat, though, Andy, has to be this guy here, the three-time winner at this racetrack, Greg Biffle.
Oh, yeah, man, he knows his way around here. Now, actually, you know, that's the case. He has won so many races. I've watched his line just to try to see where he likes to run, but I've seen him try quite a few things out here. He's not really just sticking with one place on the racetrack, but if I was going to try to figure out how to win here, I'd follow him a little bit.
Yeah, and the one thing that we've noticed in both the practice sessions, he likes the bottom part of this racetrack a little more than a lot of the other guys. He utilizes that bottom banking, which is there is less of it down there, but it's the shorter way around, and that seems to be working pretty good. Looked like a little loose off of turn 2 right there.
One of the big surprises of the weekend was this car and driver. No, it's not Brian Vickers. It is Scott Speed, making only his 5th ever start, and he's on the front row.
He's been solid all weekend. He's sitting here 3rd in this practice. He was in the top 5 in the first practice session as well, so he's solid. I mean, he's looking at a good weekend so far.
Yeah, this just wasn't one lap yesterday. He's done a really, really good job here, and I guess he just needed a number change, like you said yesterday, and set him on fire here.
Now, realistically, if you're a veteran driver starting behind him, knowing that this young man's only run 4 Cup races in his entire career, are you just a bit nervous about the green flag here on Sunday?
No, you're a lot nervous. And that's not because he doesn't have a lot of talent. It's just that, you know, when you start this race, he's never started a race here in the stock car. He doesn't know how far to drive off down in that first corner or how his car's going to stick when he comes off of turn 2. So, yeah, you're a little bit more anxious about that.
And here is our pole sitter for the first time in his career, David Ruderman, the 15th different pole winner in 2008, and he puts a Michael Waltrip Toyota on the front row.
Wow. How far have they come? I mean, this is great for, obviously, David's last run with the UPS sponsorship on this Toyota. But, you know, it was just a short time ago last year that these guys were having a hard time making races at times. And that was just because there's a new race team. But they've come far enough now that they can go out and win poles.
He will lead him down on Sunday at 3 o'clock, and the big story is, can history be made? Well, these guys, Chad Knaus, could he become the first crew chief ever to win 3 consecutive titles? And what about his driver, Jimmy Johnson? Will they get it done on Sunday? Our coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Happy Hour brought to you by the all-new Dodge Ram. Never back down from a challenge. Motorsports yet to come your way for the weekend. Coming up next, NASCAR Nationwide Series finale, the Ford 300 here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. NHRA qualifying coming up at 11 o'clock Eastern time. NASCAR Now will kick off our coverage Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And then the curtain call for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Ford 400 at Homestead-Miami, 3 o'clock Eastern time, live on ABC, beginning with NASCAR Countdown. And, of course, Automobile Club of Southern California NHRA Finals on ESPN2 Sunday night at 7 Eastern time. Riding along with Jimmy Johnson, now back out on the racetrack. They had a session earlier in the afternoon, and he was at the very top of that session in practice. And Jimmy now is showing 4th overall in speed in this session behind Hamlin, Biffle, and Scott Speed. Let's look inside Carl Edwards' car, and they're doing some adjustments here. What are they doing, guys?
Well, trying to figure out this, looking at what they're doing. I thought they had some tape there maybe to put on the windshield, but is that to kill some of the glare on those gauges?
Yeah, they're going to get a lot of sun tomorrow afternoon when this race is starting and before we get into the nighttime. And that reflection, that sun gets down on the dash, and it'll bring up a glare right into the driver's eyes. So Carl's trying to eliminate that by putting this tape, and you can see tape over on the left side too there. They're just kind of trying to numb everything in there and dull everything out to where it doesn't blind the driver.
As Andy Petrie always says, it's all about the details.
That's right. It's all about the details, man. You got to be able to see.
Hey, you make the driver happy, and a lot of good things happen, I'll assure you.
We talked about all the great storylines for the weekend. The rookie battle. Now coming in, Sam Hornish holding the rookie points lead, but did not make the show. And now Regan Smith will get an opportunity to impress the voters. Remember, it's only the top 17 races of the year that they evaluate. And with his nearest competitor not in the show, he may be able to take advantage. Shannon.
Right now, Regan Smith just saying that this car is a little bit loose up off. They're still working on this 01 car. Qualified 26 for this race. And one thing that really struck me, you guys, when I was looking at some stats of Regan Smith, no career DNFs. And I got to ask you guys, you know, Andy, especially as a crew chief, how important is that for a young driver when potential teams are looking at the driver, possibly thinking about hiring them?
That's a big thing, Shannon. I didn't realize he'd had no DNFs. That's a pretty neat little stat. The one thing that does do for a rookie especially is it gives you a lot of laps on the racetrack. You're not sitting in the garage area, you're getting out on the racetrack and you're finishing those races. That's a very important thing there, and Regan's done a good job.
Here are the rookie point standings coming into the final race. Regan just 3 points back. They were tied going into Phoenix last weekend. Patrick Carpentier had a good year, got a pole in New Hampshire earlier in the year. Michael McDowell, who drove a 0-0 for Michael Waltrip Racing, and Dario Franchitti, who has now gone back full-time to the Indy Racing League, was scheduled in 2009. 42 car on the racetrack. Remember 2 years ago, everyone's so excited when Juan Pablo Montoya made his NASCAR Sprint Cup debut here in South Florida at this racetrack in November of 2006.
The way this program has progressed, we have to think that before the checkered flag falls tomorrow night, he's going to be a guy up there running in the top 5, battling for a win.
It's kind of funny, you know, you think about him being a road course driver and probably would be good on short tracks because of that, but it seems like these mile-and-a-halfs have really played to his favor. He's really done well on them. He's had great finishes, and here lately he's had some great performances on these kind of tracks.
You know, what I saw racing against him was he likes to stand in the gas. I mean, he likes to be in the throttle. And this, you know, the one thing that has been very impressive too in racing with him was he didn't overdrive the corners, but he wanted to get back to that throttle and carry a lot of straightaway speed, and that's I think that's what makes him so good at these tracks.
Big news out of the Ganassi camp this week, the merger with DEI for 2009 for a 4-car Chevrolet team. It's expected. Arden Truex Jr., Eric Almirola, Juan Pablo Montoya, and the 4th car with a driver to be named later. They've made some adjustments on the Carl Edwards car in the garage area, so he will be able to head back out onto the racetrack. There's Carl getting back up to speed. Shannon?
Well, the major issue Carl Edwards is facing right now, according to the team, is just it's a little tight in the center, which then is causing it to be snapping loose. So they have been bringing it in and out of the garage. Right now, he has not climbed on the speed charge, holding steady at 21st. And it was obviously his first lap that he laid down was the fastest in this practice session. Like I said earlier, 7th in the morning session or the earlier session. So that team's still looking for a little bit of speed.
They'll probably wait a little while before they put tires back on it before he might up that speed that he has. But I think more than anything right now, he's looking to just get something that he can go out there and run close to the same lap times lap after lap.
Here's 2 crew chiefs that are getting it done right now. Bob Osborne on your left and Chad Knaus on the right. These guys are parked side by side in the garage area. Their haulers are, and so they stand on top and keep up with everything.
It's like a heavyweight boxing match when the boxers come out and face off, you know, at the very beginning when they get the instructions, it's face to face and stare each other down.
Does Bob have a little camera over there that he might be trying to look at Chad's notes?
He could be. I think he's got his own notes.
Final time in 2008, these drivers will get a chance to go out in happy hour and get the cars dialed up. And then they will take the green flag on Sunday. But here's a guy that's trying to win another championship today. Carl Edwards, who is the reigning NASCAR Nationwide Series champion. Later today, our coverage from here trying to catch Clint Boyer to become a 2-time series title. We invite you to join us here tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern time. The Ford 400 at Homestead-Miami. Stop number 10. Final race of the year in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Could Jimmie Johnson do it and write a page in the history books? We mentioned there are 7 drivers who won a year ago who have yet to win in 2008, including 3 chasers. Kevin Harvick is one of those drivers still trying to get to victory lane, along with Matt Kenseth and Jeff Gordon. There's the winless streak. Harvick's last victory, the Daytona 500 at the beginning of 2007.
If you're going to have a last one for a while, that's a good one to have on your resume. But I know Kevin would like to get back to victory lane and have us quit talking about that.
It's not just Kevin. I mean, Jeff Gordon and Matt Kenseth. That's 2 big names that haven't won this year. Yeah, hard to believe that's going to go all the way through this season. Those guys are going to be up on the wheel Sunday to try to change that.
Matt Kenseth's last win came right here at this racetrack in the season finale a year ago. In fact, it was this race that he set the record for leading the most laps. No one has led this many and won the race race. Kenseth a year ago led 214 laps going to victory lane. Been a great racetrack for the Roush Fenway guys, winning the last 4 in a row, 3 with Biffle, and of course Kenseth in 07.
He's qualified. Yeah, he's qualified well, but I'm looking at 31st so far in this practice session. That's just a fast lap though, and sometimes that is not the indication of how good your car is, because that is just the fastest lap of this session. These tires fall off quite a bit, and after you run a while, that's when the real true test of how good your car's handling comes in.
DJ, this racetrack changes significantly. We start in the daylight. We finish this race after dark. How much do you know about your car now, that as far as what could happen when it gets dark and the track does tighten up a little bit or changes?
Yeah, that's more of a guess, because they have no practice in that type of situation here as far as when this racetrack cools off. So they're going to have to make these cars pretty adjustable. What they're practicing in right now is going to be closer to what they're going to see for the first part of the race. It's supposed to be pretty warm tomorrow afternoon at the start of this race. But again, the adjustments are going to be kind of a guess as to how much this racetrack will tighten up going off of past history.
And the problem with that past history is very limited. We only run here once a year, and so you don't have those 2 races a year to go by.
And the other factor with that is the tire changes, it seems, on a regular basis here, so it may not react exactly the same. If air pressure was something that helped you a lot last year, it may not work with this tire.
One of the storylines we're following in this season finale is the owner's points. Folks, if you can stay in the top 35, you're guaranteed to get a starting spot in the first 5 races for 2009. And right now, that transfer spot belongs to the 47 car of Marcus Ambrose.
A lot of pressure right there to do that. I mean, that means you're going to definitely be in the Daytona 500 when you show up in February, and that makes things a lot easier during those days that you have down there.
Marcus has done a great job getting this car into the top 35. He surprised a lot, including me. I mean, he surprised a lot of people of how well he's performed at this Cup level. He's just done such a great job. It seems like he's really adapted well to this race car.
Impressed so many people with his performance at Phoenix a week ago, and a top 20 finish on what was a very difficult day on that racetrack. Here's the 84 car, and normally this would be Scott Speed, the inexperienced rookie driver, but they put Brian Vickers in this car because of Brian's experience here and because of what we just saw a moment ago, those owners' points.
Yeah, they needed a hired gun. They didn't have to look far to get this one. He was already in the stable. This is a good move. I really like what they're doing here. A little risky for Brian Vickers, because he maybe could have missed the race if something happened in qualifying, but he's qualified in the show now, and I think it's a really good move for this team.
And I think that's what having someone like Jay Fry running your race team, he has such great perspective and insight into this sport and things that you need to do. And when you have someone that's running your organization that valuable, then he can come up with scenarios like that. I'm giving him credit. I assume it was probably Jay, or he had a lot to do with it, but a very good idea and a nice move on their part.
We'll follow his progress on Sunday, see if he can get that car in the top 35. Now, Jimmy Johnson slowing back down. Let's check in with Mike.
Well, Doc, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Jimmy Johnson and the 48 team real happy with the car at the conclusion of the first practice this afternoon. After all, they were at the top of the speed chart, but still looking for more, fine-tuning on the car, and this is what they said just moments ago.
Gone a little far with it there. It does respond through the center. It has that easy driving feeling to it, but this car feels a little light in the back of the track. Back of the car feels a little light in the track.
Well, they are now pulling back into their garage stall. Last time here, they made 2 turns on the bolt jack bolts and also made a turn on the track bar, but the car, as you heard Jimmy say, did not respond. Last time out, the spotter was just reading him lap times. First lap out, he said it was pretty good, but the subsequent laps thereafter, he said it really fell off, so they're still going to have some work to do. But I'm curious to get your input, Andy and DJ. What exactly do you think he meant when he said the car feels a little bit lighter?
I'm going to have to assume that means the rear tires are just not quite stuck to the racetrack as good as he would like. The thing you want your car to do is you want it to turn real well through the center without pushing the front tires. You want it to do that without sliding the rear tires, and I think they've probably gone just a little too far with that. They've got the front where they want it, but the back just has that, what he calls that goofy light feel to it.
Yeah, he's just looking for a little bit more grip there, a little more security is what he's after, so that he doesn't have to play with the throttle off the corner. It's hurting his exit and straightaway speed, and just looking to get a little more security.
One driver who's still looking for some speed in this session is this guy, the #1 chaser in this championship scenario, Carl Edwards, who will start 4th on Sunday, but right now he's being shown back in 21st spot on the speed charts. We'll update his status when we come back in just a moment. Happy hour activities have halted here momentarily at Homestead-Miami Speedway under a red flag because of an incident on the racetrack. Bit of a scrape for the one car. Martin Truex Jr. and NASCAR wanted to check the track out.
See, Barton gets in here a little bit hot up high, and they're working that high line. Man, that thing really steps out on him. Looks like that wall kept him from spinning out.
Nice job. It's very easy to overcorrect the car in trying not to spin out there.
Look at that.
Oh, that's minimal there.
Barely touched that wall.
Oh, yeah.
Good job. NASCAR, I guess, is checking the track to make sure there's no debris out there.
Thus far in happy hour, here are the average laps in terms of 5-lap averages. Denny Hamlin, very good. In fact, better than anybody else on the racetrack. And there's Jimmy Johnson, 2nd overall. Robbie Gordon, he would like to finish this year. By the way, he's one of those guys trying to hang in the top 35. He's 34th in owners' points. Tony Stewart, his final ride with Joe Gibbs Racing. And, of course, the 3-time winner here, Greg Biffle, 5th overall in terms of average speeds.
See another car, Jamie McMurray, showing up on that sheet right there.
Been pretty regular for him here lately, hasn't it?
Sure has. He shows up just about every time we put a graphic up there in one of the top cars. Wow, look at the A car. He got a little more than a scratch on this thing.
Yeah, he didn't quite get his corrected in time.
Eric Almirola from Tampa, Florida. That's the car he shared with Mark Martin, who now moves full-time in 2009 to Hendrick Motorsports. And Eric will drive this car as a part of the combined teams we mentioned a moment ago with Ganassi and Earnhardt.
I think we're going to see a lot of cars with this stripe on the side of them because they're running so close to this wall, and this track has lost a lot of grip. They don't have the grip they used to have here.
Ticker across the top of your screen shows you the starting grid, and sort of an unusual front row with Ruderman and Speed. You can see where your drivers are starting while we watch the final parts of happy hour here. 88 car on the racetrack, and this guy's had good luck here. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the Nationwide car, but never had a very good run here in the Cup car.
Tough racetrack out here. The variable banking that you have where Dale's running right there is 19 degrees on the bottom. Just gets progressively more as you get up to the wall. I think off of turn 2 is going to be an exciting place for these guys tomorrow afternoon and then into the evening.
We talk about the transition. This is a progressive banking racetrack after the reconfiguring prior to the 2003 season. And the drivers say in the garage area, the difference is that the backstretch is raised 20 feet above the front straightaway, so the transition off of turn 2 is different than it is off of turn 4.
Yeah, you're kind of running uphill, you feel like, off of that, and then all of a sudden it flattens out. So you really have to be careful. It's easy to get yourself into the wall, and if you're racing someone and they happen to get on the outside of you, it's really easy to squeeze them into the wall and run out of racing room in a hurry. See Junior trying to get his car to go around the bottom here right now. Be interesting, very interesting as we get from daylight into dark tomorrow. I think we're going to see, especially at the beginning of the race, a lot of cars up around the wall. But as the racetrack cools down, are they going to go back to the shorter way around this track?
Practice ongoing. Jimmy Johnson again trying to win a 3rd consecutive championship. He's done it 2 in a row here, 141 points. And if you just joined our coverage or you haven't been around for a while, he's just got to finish 36th or better to become the champion. And we're going to have another championship settle later today involving a driver who leads the NASCAR Nationwide Series standings. Mike.
But for the past 45 minutes at least, Clint Bowyer's focus has been on this Sprint Cup car. And while you retired early from practice 15 minutes earlier, I would assume that means you're pretty happy.
Yeah, the car's pretty good. I didn't qualify very good for these guys. Their draw wasn't the best, so need a fast race car to get up through them, and I think that's what we got. Car really feels good, you know. It moves around. I can run high, I can run low, so I'm pretty happy.
I know the focus has to be to get back to victory lane before the conclusion of 2008. What did you guys focus on specifically during that practice?
Oh, just, you know, maneuverability. I mean, be able to move around. When you start that far deep in the field, you got to be able to move. You got to run high, you got to run low, and I think that's what we can do. Had a lot of fun with these guys in a Jack Daniels Chevrolet, and if we can get in victory lane one more time, it'd be pretty cool.
What about later today? How important is it for you to stop this practice early so you can collect your thoughts for the mission at hand here in the nationwide competition tonight?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on today, but we need to get in the top 5 over here too. We got an opportunity to do that. We got to beat our teammate out. We're 8 points behind him, and an important practice over here as well. So just an important weekend. It's what it's all made of.
Important may be an understatement, Doc. He's got a lot going on in his head, I'm sure.
He will start lucky 13th later today in the NASCAR Nationwide Series race, and driving for Richard Childress, a legendary car owner. He'll be battling Carl Edwards. Just 56 points separate these two, Carl Edwards and Clint Boyer, from a NASCAR Nationwide title, which we will settle here later today. Will history be made here at Homestead-Miami Speedway tomorrow? Tune in 3 o'clock Eastern time, the Ford 400, to see if Jimmy Johnson can become just the second driver in the 60 years of NASCAR to win 3 consecutive championships. Will Jimmy pull it off? Will Carl Edwards have the Hail Mary to get it done from 141 points back? All that and more coming your way at 3 Eastern time on Sunday. Let's go down to Mike Massaro.
Well, Doc, early in the broadcast, we played a little bit of radio from Jimmy Johnson, and you heard, I think the word he used to describe the car was iffy. Well, it seems like his crew chief, Chad Knaus, wants a little bit more detail.
I feel it trying to help, but then in other areas I feel like it took away front grip.
Yeah, so go fueling tires here. Jimmy, you're going to need to really try to be descriptive for me here so we can try something different.
No surprise to hear Chad say that. This team is meticulous when it comes to communication and feedback. They usually describe the car in terms of its balance on a scale of 1 to 10 to help dial this thing in. And while certainly this could be the most important practice they have all year, they want to be right spot on.
Yeah, I heard him say there he was going to try something a little different, so I need you to really be descriptive. That means it's something that not a normal change that we usually make, and he needs to really try to break it down and make sure that this is something they want to do.
Last time in a Joe Gibbs car after a 10-year relationship for Tony Stewart. 2 titles, 33 wins, over $71 million. Boy, what a successful marriage this has been between Tony Stewart and the Joe Gibbs operation.
Yeah, and I think these guys, rest of these 42 guys here tomorrow night might have to deal with this guy. He really wants to win this race and go out that way for this race team, his relationship and partnership that he's had with Greg Zipadelli over these years. That's the way they want to finish it off. And what I'm seeing with his race car looks pretty good.
Tony says he will forever remember what Joe Gibbs taught him, not about racing, but about people and how to be able to manage people and take care of people and treat them like you want to be treated. Tony moves on to run his own operation, Stewart Haas Motorsports, but these are the years he will forever remember, and those numbers will tell you why. Look at the laps led, over 10,000 laps led driving for Joe Gibbs Racing. Here at Homestead, here are the 2 contenders for the championship deciding race. Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson. You see Carl starts outside of row 2. Jimmy way back in 30th position. But a bit of a role reversal here in terms of where they're running in happy hour.
I think Carl Edwards would like to have been higher up on that speed chart, but it seems like that he's been out there really working on his car in race conditions, running lap after lap, and not worrying as much about that fast lap time.
That's what it's just that ranking on this sheet. It makes you feel good when you're up on the top of it, but if you're not, it's still it's not the real telltale of how good your car is. And Carl Edwards, that's the good thing about having a driver like Carl and Jimmy both. They know what they need, and if they're happy and they've got the field they want, it really doesn't matter what that one fast lap is.
We mentioned how good the Roush Fenway cars have been here. Here's the guy in this team that's had a pretty good hot hand here the last few weeks, Jamie McMurray, coming off back-to-back third-place finishes.
Just watching his lap times are pretty fast right now. He must have put on tires. Been pretty quick here the last 3 or 4 laps.
It was really nice to watch them progress here in the latter part of the season. I think it all started when Andy picked him as a sleeper at Dover, and he had a great race until something happened there. But
he had a winning car there, really.
Yeah, he did.
He got knocked out.
You can see Martin Truex there really get sideways off of turn 2 following Jamie McMurray. He hadn't got that problem figured out. He just wasn't as close to the wall that time whenever
he didn't have the assist from the wall, did he?
What he figured out was run farther away from the wall if that's going to happen.
Yeah. But Jamie's really been good. And, you know, again, we make the comment that here they are changing crew chiefs after having so much success here late in the season. Hopefully that works for him. Jack Roush has done this a number of times, and it's worked out really, really good.
16 car, Greg Biffle, no surprise. He is now second overall on the speed chart.
See both these guys running a little bit different line.
There's Carl really searching around. He runs the bottom a little bit, then he gets up in the middle, and he'll try the very, very top side every once in a while. But Greg seems to be pretty committed to that bottom side.
Until now. Now he's going to try it up a little bit.
But this is what he's been doing. He enters high, and then he comes off a lot lower.
Yeah, I've noticed he doesn't run right on. I've watched him a few laps here. He doesn't run right on that white line, but he does run lower than most. If you look out there, he is usually one of the lower cars on the racetrack.
And here's another one of the Roush drivers, a 6 car of David Reagan. And we talk about great drivers in the chase. This is the guy that just missed the chase, but will finish solidly in 13th in the points in only his second full year as a NASCAR Sprint Cup driver.
Well, we talked just how impressive I think all of us have been, not only here in the booth, but in the garage area too. A lot of people have been very impressed with David Reagan and what he's done in a short period of time. And I think we're seeing a driver that's going to be a factor in the championship. I think everyone expects him to make the chase next year and see what he can do from there.
Now, Kyle Busch may not win the championship, but he has certainly given people a lot to talk about here in 2008. That first win for Toyota, and what a dominant performance during the regular season of NASCAR.
Yeah, the regular season, he was just unbelievable. Not so much in the championship chase, but he would certainly like for everybody to remember how dominant he was, and all the way through the winter by taking the win here. That's the kind of thing you want to do. You want to win the last race so everybody remembers that.
Yeah, and I had a few minutes with Kyle yesterday in the garage area before practice started, and talking about that very thing. And he was very proud of what he's been able to accomplish and the wins that they had. He said, but they could kind of see people catching up to them as they got closer to that chase. And he said, we just couldn't rebound. Everybody kind of passed us, and the harder we tried, the further behind we got. But doesn't take away from the outstanding season that he's had.
And if you combine what he has done across all 3 series, in the Truck Series, the NASCAR Nationwide, and Cup, he has 21 victories and over 4,200 laps led. What a season as a NASCAR driver.
That's a career for a lot of people.
Man.
This session winding down here. Final practice session for the 2008 season. Denny Hamlin atop the speed charts. Greg Biffle is second. Scott Speed, the surprise in qualifying. Third overall. Jimmy Johnson fourth, and Jeff Gordon is fifth.
Right along here with Jeff Burton. Watching him a lot. He's been down the bottom of the racetrack most of the time. I think that's where he wants to make his car. And Jeff will move around on the racetrack, but I think he really anticipates tomorrow evening that bottom part's going to be where you need to really get your car working.
Carl Edwards calling it a day. Next time he will climb in his NASCAR Sprint Cup car, he will be ready to go to the green flag at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. Well, with happy hour winding up here at Homestead-Miami Speedway, we're going to take you a little look behind the scenes at the Traveling Roadshow. That is our ESPN coverage of NASCAR.
26 racetracks.
Chicagoland Speedway.
Talladega Super Speedway.
33,468 miles of travel. 38 weekends. This is ESPN's coverage of NASCAR. Advanced and innovative television production.
We've got 4 RF cameras, 10 hard cameras, 11 robo cameras, a couple jibs, POV cameras that are put out under walls.
There isn't a single feed that we put on there that isn't high definition. ESPN has put forth one of the biggest efforts to put everything in HD.
We do 8 in-car cameras. We also have pitman cameras.
Whoa, tight! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Left side off. Left side off. We're out of here.
Having HD quality come out of a car going around the track at 200 miles an hour. That's something that was a few years ago was almost unheard of.
most amazing things we do is our in-race reporter.
But you know how it is, Dale. It's just it's a blast to go down these corners and slide these cars around at 200 miles an hour.
We've taken that access and made it so that the viewers at home can literally sit shotgun with a race car driver, and no other sport does that.
Let's visit with our in-race reporter, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Have you found you a drafting partner?
Well, me and Juan have been working together. I think we got a lot of respect for each other, and see that in the way we've been drafting a little bit.
I like the way this 88 and 42 have been working together today.
We carry 13 6-channel EVSs, 3 IP directors, 3 X-Files, all interfaced together. In years past, we'd have 2 EVSs and 10 tape machines. Now we're all EVSs.
Around the track for ambience microphones, we're using anywhere from 80 to 100 usually per track.
Let's listen in as we go full throttle.
Ready? Green. You're clear now. You're clear. Clear low. Clear. What? Come on, stand it. We're in it.
Another location that gives us the in-car radios.
We've got every single driver.
Gave another one away today. Great job. 10-4. Great attitude there, Smoke. We stalled it a couple times up pit road and gave up spots. Remember, we win and lose as a team. It's a great effort, okay? It's enough of that crap. Difference is I got mine back.
What we try to do is get some of the people that some of the other networks might not focus on. ESPN's really the only network that's committed that much to get radios on the air.
Under these cautions, the cars pull up all the rubber on the racetrack, and so when you cross over the asphalt onto the concrete, you hit fresh concrete, you know, and it grips the front tires real hard.
This is definitely the biggest. There's more cables, there's more people, a lot more trucks, more satellite trucks.
This is a weekly Super Bowl, and that's really what it is, and it's amazing.
I've done a lot with ESPN. This is above and beyond anything I've ever worked on. Olympics included. This has just been huge.
As you see where our chasers are starting here in the season finale tomorrow, we cast an eye toward what could be a history-making day. And we take a moment to reflect on what a sensational Sprint Cup season this has been. A season that both started and now ends here in the state of Florida.
It's one of the most famous venues in all of sports, the Daytona International Speedway, and it all starts here every year.
50th anniversary Daytona 500. Starts today. 48 on 3. 1, 2, 3, 48!
The Daytona 500, indeed, the great American race.
Ryan Newman, Roger Penske win the Daytona 500. Wild Thing wins.
Yes,
Kyle Busch.
Took just 40 races for Toyota to claim its first win in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
Here he comes, and there he goes.
Kyle Busch has control.
Hell of a job, Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch scores his 4th victory.
And that was all Kyle Busch right there.
The remarkable year of Kyle Busch continues tonight.
Kyle Busch will come down and take the checkered flag, his 8th win in 2008.
What a season.
For the 15th time, the NASCAR community has gathered here at the famed Yard of Bricks.
Feels like I got basketballs from right side tires. My eyes can't even see straight. Got a real bad vibration. It's about to tear the tire up.
Looking at the right rear tires, they are coming off these cars ugly.
You can see even the best cars are having serious problems here.
Looks like garage area there by Goodyear's business is picking up.
There's a storm brewing, boys. I hear thunder. Oh, there they go. Off a 2, off a 2.
Tony Stewart, tangle in turn number 2.
Wow, we have got some twisted up iron here today.
God almighty. Look at
Harvick just took out 3 guys.
They are wrecking in every corner. Big wreck behind you.
All heavy contact cars crashing.
Oh, Lord. There's a huge wreck.
Oh, there goes the foul car.
It may be the day that
Young Jr. wins this race.
He's got the lead by 3 car lengths over Jamie McMurray. The question is, has Dale Earnhardt Jr. got enough tire in the tank?
In his 15th start for Hendrick Motorsports, he's finally going to score that elusive win.
Yeah, baby! Way to go, Tony Jr. Oh, boy, that's the way to do it. We'll take them any way we can get them.
Will Jimmy Johnson lose it or win it and etch his name in the history books? We'll settle it all for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series here on Sunday. But now it's time to turn our attention to the NASCAR Nationwide Series season finale. And of course, a championship battle all its own. To set the stage, let's head down to our pit studio for NASCAR Countdown.